up, y'all? It's your host of Connecting the Dots podcast, Kymmy Coco, and I am unmasking. But make sure you're wearing your mask when you're indoors with people, when you're just, having normal conversations, because we have got to get this stuff under control. But we'll talk about that later because we have special guests today. And they're doing something that I can't wait to hear more about because I have no idea about any of this. I didn't even know that this existed. And you're going to change your mind about how you engage with your children about the games that they play. I think people probably end up doing that once you hear this story. So welcome, Jaquita and Eric Thomas.
Thank you.
You guys tell us about, is it Pharaohs Conclave?
That's it.
I started reading about it, and I was like, this is so cool. So tell everyone what made you start Pharaohs Conclave and what Pharaohs Conclave is.
Okay, awesome. Well, Pharaohs Conclave is a company where we prepare youth K through 12 and collegiate for eSports careers. And we are going officially into our third year of existence. And it really is an opportunity for us to be on the ground floor of an industry, a tech industry, and to bring our community to be a part of it as well.
Exactly. So, yeah, eSports. Tell people about what eSports and how lucrative of a career it could be.
Yeah, esports is incredibly lucrative. Esports stands for electronic sports, so it's really the competitive video gaming industry. Last year, it generated over $1.5 billion, and it's on target this year to generate over $3 billion. And it sits inside of a video gaming industry, which generates over $140 billion a year. So it's a very lucrative industry. And just like with traditional sports like football or basketball or soccer, you might watch those on TV and see the professional players play, but there are a host of people that make that production that you see on television happen.
Right.
And just like in those traditional sports, that same range of careers exists in competitive video gaming, from coaching to tournament organizing to law, business, music, fashion, all of those different, any area really that a young person is going to have an interest in, they can do that in the esports industry.
Yeah, did you know that? Did you know about that? That is really, as you see your kids, you're playing games, you're like, don't waste your time on these games. Like, go read a book or go research something, because I'm guilty of that. But, people are really deep into these games now.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've become a part of our life. So what made you start the Pharaohs Conclave? How did it start?
So when you think, we go back, I'm an educator. First, I graduated Tuskegee, went into civil engineering. And from civil engineering, I was always in outreach as a member of my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We always were a part of youth outreach. And when we were talking about mentoring youth, we were always working. And I was starting to ask myself a question. Okay, not a lot of kids are saying they want to be engineers or doctors or anything. They were like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And so I was like, okay, how can I figure out where is this going wrong? And so I decided to go into education. I wanted to do middle grades and high school mathematics, but where I started was with APS, Project Grad, doing college and career readiness. And I just, again, saw that not a lot of kids were really dreaming about doing a lot. But when I would look at what they were doing, it seemed like they were doing a lot, but they weren't making the connection with what they could possibly do after that. And when I met my wife, we were always doing robotics, STEM education.
Really?
We were always in that. And her background is all that. So from that, and we were always doing camps, we noticed that one year we were doing app development, mobile app development. And the kids, we didn't necessarily always would have a problem with keeping their attention. But when we decided to do this based on them creating a in-app game, mobile game, they were all for it. And that's kind of when the light clicked off, like, okay, this could be something that we could do. And then we started to see the reports on TV of what was happening around video games and esports.
Yeah, so for me and Eric too, when you think about it, feels like, and we say this a lot to each other, it feels like everything we've done our whole lives really led us to founding this company. Back as a second grader, back in the 80s, I was playing video games like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, The Oregon Trail, a lot of those old school titles. And I know he was too. He had a lot of those early consoles in his home. And for me, that led me to computer science. When I was in high school, I started learning how to program games in a basic language called BASIC. And when I got to Spelman, I majored in computer science. Even though I thought I was going to be a doctor, I actually ended up becoming a computer scientist and fell more in love with that. I went on to Georgia Tech and got a PhD in computer science, and along the way, I learned how to design and develop games, and I started teaching other people how to do that through the summer camps that Eric talked about. I then joined the faculty at Spelman College. After I had gone out to Silicon Valley and worked there for a few years, I knew I always wanted to be an educator. So I came back to Spelman and joined the faculty, and that's when I developed a game design for social change course, where I taught young people how to use and design and build games to create social awareness and action around issues that matter to them. And what we saw, no matter what level it was, be it a kindergartner or a graduate student, that ability to leverage gaming and computing as a tool for building awareness and for increasing action around an issue was something that everybody engaged with. So like he mentioned, we were watching an episode of Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. This was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and he was talking about some of the first colleges and universities that were offering scholarships in esports. So yes, your baby also can get a scholarship to go to college in competitive video gaming. Yes. And what was really interesting to us and what kind of really caught our attention was they did this cut scene to the Staples Center. It was sold out. And there were these two competitors who were duking it out on this huge stage. So us being native Atlantans, we started to ask two questions. The first was, where's the esports scene here in Atlanta? And the second was, where are we as people of color in that esports scene? And we found that there was an esports scene in Atlanta, but it was overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly male. And we saw that Black and brown people were in pockets, but really were not a part of the burgeoning esports industry that's happening here in Atlanta. And it's a hub for esports. So we decided to start Pharaohs Conclave to prepare young people for those careers that exist within this industry.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So what age do you start to notice children? Because now it's like, as a parent, you think, okay, my kid wants to play the game. What kid doesn't want to play the game? Okay, go play the game, you know. But at what point do you realize that it's deeper than that? Or do you, as the parent, take the helm and just be like, you know, do I direct the kid and, you know, and say, okay, I know you like the game, but did you know how the game was made?
Exactly.
You know?
Really, it's that easy of a question. And a lot of times, you know, when you look at the data, Black youth consume games at a much larger rate than other groups. I believe the statistic is about 83% of Black youth play video games. But when you look at the video gaming industry and who's creating the games, Black and brown people make up less than 5% of that workforce. So that tells you the disparity from a consumer versus a production standpoint. Yeah. And there's also money to be made on the design and development of games, as well as issues around like representation. So part of why we don't see more well-rounded characters of colors within video games is because we're not the ones necessarily creating those characters and storylines.
I mean, unless
arcs.
it's NBA 2K.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and even there may be some question as to what the makeup of the team that's actually designing that game looks like, even though it's based off of an actual
because, you know,
team.
Usually in the headlines you'll hear like, oh, you know, this song, you know, they're taking out these words for this song or whatever to be a part of this is just also very interesting to me, because when I tell you, I don't know, I never, you know, I'm of a certain age. So when I was young, we had Atari and Nintendo. And,
Exactly.
you know,
Come on, Gen X.
right. So, you know, after that, you know, my little brother, you know, he continued to get like the newest game. And I've seen how the graphics have evolved.
Yes, a lot.
And it's just like, this is so cool.
It is.
So how do people get involved in what you guys do? And then we'll talk about, you know, currently how the social justice and the call for, you know, the cry out for social justice here in this country led to Google creating this fund, and how you guys got involved in that. But tell me more about it.
Yeah.
So to get involved, it's very straightforward. We have an online proprietary platform. We do this in 3 prongs. We have First is our Level Up Academy. And so that's where young people can go in and they can actually build skills and learn about the various career pathways that we talked about, like designing a game, professional playing, shoutcasting, streaming, broadcasting.
Yeah, excuse
much like
me if
this.
I'm not paying. I am paying attention, but I'm actually looking at it. So if a
Not a
question
problem.
crosses my mind that I think someone will want to
Awesome.
know,
And,
but go ahead.
Our
I'm listening.
website is a perfect place to start.
This is a great website. Of course
you.
it is.
Thank you. And so we wanted to make sure we spoke to students, parents, and youth educators and youth workers as well, because that was actually one of two questions that while we were doing our research, we figured out a lot of people would have, especially when it came to black and brown youth. What first question would be, they would even know that there were possible careers in esports.
Right.
That'd be the number one question. But if they did, for those who were so fortunate to fall upon it, they didn't know where to get started.
Exactly.
And so what we wanted to do is make sure our company was a place that could answer both of those questions for the young people and for the parents or educators as well,
Right.
so they can understand where they get started. And it doesn't matter, again, if it's kindergarten or if it's grown. If you're in school already, we wanted you to know and understand, okay, this is where I can get started. And this is a company that's going to help me
Right.
and give me the tools to get in where I fit in, basically.
So in addition to Level Up Academy, which is the online learning
Yeah,
platform.
and I see that here. If you go to the website, guys, I'm just giving you some directions here. If you go to programs, it has all the programs.
Yes.
So we're gonna, go deeper into that. But yeah, Level Up Academy. When you click on it, it just gives you basically everything you need to know.
Exactly. And so it's really cool because not only do young people get to build their skills inside of Level Up Academy, and it aligns to Common Core standards. It's based on active learning and project-based learning, which is pedagogy or how people learn. My specialization is learning sciences and technology. And as he mentioned, we're both educators. So we understand how to support
Right.
kids and how they actually learn and to promote deep learning. But not only do they get to build their skills and their capabilities, but they also get to build a portfolio. As they
Nice.
design artifacts, they get feedback from esports professionals within their chosen pathway. So if you are in the game design and development track, as an example, and you're designing a storyboard, a professional storyboard artist is going to give you feedback as you iteratively refine that artifact so that it gets better and better and better. And at the same time, you're building a professional network as well that you can leverage for internship and co-op and job opportunities down the line.
Wow.
We also have a league, our youth esports league. It was the first K through 12 league in the country.
Oh, I see that. Mhm.
Yeah, and this is not only a place where those who are interested in becoming professional players can build their skills, compete, win championships, but it's also a living lab where all of the other career pathways can safely and constructively get experience. So if you're in the shoutcasting pathway, shoutcasters are people who call the play-by-plays, just like they do in football or
Nice.
basketball. Yeah, there's that same kind of career pathway within
And they
video
can do
gaming.
it for the league.
Exactly, they can
So it's
do
a
that
safe
for the
place,
league.
because that's the other part of it. When we think about toxicity that exists
Yes.
online in these video games, you hear about kids, attacking one another, calling the cops on one another,
Over the game?
bullying over the games, and as a part of the games,
What?
cursing each other out. All kind of craziness and committing suicide behind that bullying. We wanted to create a safe place for our kids to be able to participate and know that they could make a mistake. And then we're going to, help pick them up and keep them going and give them a chance to be exposed. And that's one of the big things we want to do. And once they get into this, they have opportunity, once they get into high school and going into college, and once they're at the collegiate level, to also go into our third prong, which is the eSports Career and Cognitive Apprenticeship Program, where we actively take them and make sure that we apprentice them in the particular career pathway they're looking towards going into. Right. And so be it for our company or be it for one of our partner companies, they are able to go in and play test, go in and shoutcast, go in and design video games, comic books, whatever it is they decide to work on, we're actively putting them there. And we thought that was very important as well, as not just business owners and entrepreneurs, but as parents as well, to actively put them where they needed to be intentionally and safely.
And I wanted to add to that that two other components of the Escape program is that one, they're doing those apprenticeships with esports companies that are based here and even internationally. We have a lot of international partners as well. And then the second component of that has to do with preparing them for college. One of the colleges right here in the local area, Morris Brown College, who is on the pathway to becoming reaccredited. Yes, they are one of the first HBCUs to launch an esports degree program.
Get out.
And we're partnering with them in the building of that program and in the establishment of an esports the Ronald Floyd Thomas Center for Esports and Innovation that's going to be on the campus. And so they'll actually be able to go. We have an agreement set up with Morris Brown that allows for young people who are a part of our escape program to get admittance into that program so that they can pursue an esports degree. So it's very, very intentional in terms of the handoffs. If your baby comes in at any point in the pipeline, we're going to be there to mentor them, to guide them, to build their skills, and to ensure that they move from step to step to step across the pipeline. We also have to give a really, really big shout out to the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation. This is hot off the press. This hasn't even been released yet.
Oh, wow.
But we just were awarded a $125,000 grant from the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation to support the pipeline for young
Congratulations.
people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I got to put everything. That is amazing. And that's a good segue into the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, what happened with Google.
Yes.
And how they are investing in African American initiatives. So you guys were one of the beneficiaries of Google's startup initiative, where they're giving money to Black startups. So how did you guys, this is just so overwhelming because because this is perfect. You know what I mean? And I just think I'm just so happy for you guys. But I think that people need to understand how many other things there are out there for their children to do. So
Absolutely.
Google, how did you guys submit? Was there like a contest, or how did that work?
So I'll get started, and I know Eric will have stuff to say too. Big shout out to Jewel Burke Solomon and Tony Wilkins and that entire team at Google for Startups. We actually joined Google for Startups. We applied to become one of the startups in Google for Startups. This was back right before shelter in place, I remember. Maybe in February we found out that we were accepted as a startup. They accepted 50 startups into their inaugural Atlanta Founders Academy. And over the course of March all the way down through November, when the program ended, it was a holistic, boot camp experience for startups. It was amazing. We learned about connecting our whole selves and really understanding our why and connecting that to our business mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. We learned about the bottom line and how to maintain the finances. We learned about building our MVP, or our minimally viable product. We learned about, it was just so much. Every week we had experts to come in, and it was the kind of professional development where we would go to a session, and later that afternoon we would have a client meeting, and we'd be applying the things we learned that morning.
Wow.
Yes. It was just amazing. So as a part of that program, we had the opportunity to apply for the Black Founders Fund. And so we applied, and it was a rigorous application process. There was an interview process as well. And we found out that we were awarded the $100,000 in non-dilutive capital from Google. So that was just amazing. And when I tell you, it has already boosted and allowed us to scale in ways that we would not have been able to without that funding. We were able to are taking our minimally viable product and building a production quality version of it that's going to launch in the summertime for our Camp Level Up, which we're really, really excited about. And it's allowed us to bring on staff that we need because
I was gonna say, how are you guys doing?
Listen,
is there
we were bootstrapping.
Do you have a team behind you, or
we're building that team now?
And we've had loyal people working with us as well.
Shout out to Brittany.
Shout out to Dante. Shout out to Austin, Chemical. You know, we've always had people who saw us early on and believed in what we're doing.
Because this is amazing.
They helped us. They
but
really
we've been a small but mighty team for a very, very long time.
Wow.
But this has allowed us to get an administrative assistant, executive assistant. I mean, that funding, you know, Black and brown founders already know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. So, you give us
15 cents.
Yeah, you give us $100,000.
We know what to do with it.
But there was a space that needed to be filled, and you guys filled it. So
Exactly.
everything is going to come full circle, and it's just, because I'm looking at this like, where has this been all of our lives, especially here in Atlanta, because these kids are on top of everything. And,
that's right.
And they have a lot to offer.
Absolutely. We have a very special place in our heart and in our programming, focusing on young people who are traditionally said to be at the margins or at risk. Because honestly, all of our kids are incredibly creative, incredibly talented, and they have to be given the space and the opportunity to exercise that creativity. Eric often says, there's been a lot of news about the water boys, right, and who are selling water to try to make money. Well, he always says that
like our program would be a perfect program for them, because what it is, they need options.
Right.
And I used to see it in my classroom all the time at the middle school and high school level in APS. And so, these kids, they bright, very energetic, bright, very passionate.
Entrepreneurial, obviously.
Very entrepreneurial, but they wouldn't know what to do with all of that they had going on in their minds. And it was interesting because our company is a hybrid company. It's considered a hybrid because we have a for-profit side and a nonprofit side. Correct. And what Google allowed, with that money, Google gave it to our for-profit side. So it allowed us to do what we needed to do on our for-profit side. Yes. And Arthur M. Blank gave us money on our nonprofit side. Yes. So now we have both sides and both faces, because as we were working with other partners, other programs, there are a ton of programs that are out there for youth and want to work with youth, but they don't get you don't get the fanfare, you don't get the advertisement, the exposure you need to be able to get out there. And it seems like our counties are looking for programs, but they still only give money or give attention to a certain few that don't really have the impact at the end of the day. Yeah. And that's what we felt about with Google. They decided to, not just our company, but other companies like ourselves, to give the money to the people who are on the ground floor.
That's right.
And as a teacher who has seen APS go through what it's going through, to see Atlanta go through what it's going through, because we're born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from East Lake, so I've definitely seen it go from the Meadows to, East Lake Oaks is what it looks like nowadays with the golf course. But to know that you have those type of companies and those type of people wanting to give money to a community, but it doesn't really find the people on the ground floor. And so for Google to help find people on the ground floor and give us the opportunity to continue to bring what we do to the masses, it's not just about us. We understand that we are kicking the door in. So when we kick the door in, we're bringing everybody behind us. The other partners who do videography, film, music, anything else they do, robotics, same thing. We still are wanting to bring them behind us, so again they can be seen, because the narrative on the corporate side when it comes to tech, we can't find Black or brown individuals to fill the positions. We always hear that. Yeah. And so the question for us is, well, where are you going to look? And so now I'm saying, you know what, don't worry about going to look. I'm going to bring them to you.
Right.
And so you'll be able to see them like, you look, here they are. And we're going to train them the way we know they need to be trained, because to get people from outside the community to try to come into the community and train us, they don't know anything about us.
Right.
And so that would be happening too. So it's just amazing to see that now we do have opportunity at the ground floor. And I say that all the time. Esports is still in its infancy.
Very much so.
Some people will say it's still the wild, wild west with what's going on. They really don't have rules. They really don't have a lot of those regulations, or I shouldn't say regulations. They don't have those laws or these unwritten rules put in place necessarily that kind of keep people out. And because of technology, we all have access. Yes. And so now we're just trying to make sure that people know about the access and they get the access to programs like ours as well.
So that would definitely be a call to action for city governments, county governments, to reach out to us, to engage us, to provide that STEAM and computer science education to the groups, that the young people that they serve who are at the margins.
Do you see anytime soon that becoming a part of any curriculum in regular schools?
It should be. Right now, it's in the informal space, what we would call the informal space, which is like after school, summertime or summer camp, weekend school. But one of the really cool things about esports, and this is something that came through during our summer camps that we did this past summer, we did 100% virtual summer camps called Camp Level Up. One of the things that was really cool was that we were able to touch on so many other things in the curriculum through esports, through using our esports curriculum. It's integrated. So as an example, every day we would have our campers who were in the Pro Gamer Clinic to play. They would meditate, they would play games, they would track certain statistics within the game to understand how well they were performing. And then over time, they actually took all that data, they graphed it so that they could see trends in their data, right? So that's math.
Right.
That's
economics.
Right. That's
It has so many
digital
applications.
literacy. There's so many aspects of education that are currently siloed that get to be integrated and learned and applied in ways that make sense to students because they're using them towards something they're interested in. So we would love to see, we have a very robust integrated curriculum that we would love to see integrated into daily school life.
What about when you get to the college level?
Right. So it's very interesting. So the high schools, or I should say the districts, they know that esports is out there, and they are starting to try to bring it into the school systems now, but they really don't know how, and so they're trying to find the people in order to do that. But interestingly enough, they're looking to some of the more corporate companies that don't really know exactly how to teach to the kids,
right.
And so that gets left out a lot of the times, and so it ends up failing. And so we'll come behind, and they have tried something, and then we have a hard time maybe enlightening them on what they could possibly use in order to do that. And one of the ways that's helping us to do that is now colleges are starting to bring esports programs to the forefront.
Yeah.
Now they are doing it a couple different ways. Some schools are tying it into their business side and things like that. So it's like more of a management or sports management because they're looking at the esports aspect of it. But when it comes to all of the different fields, it can be on the business side, the communication side, information system side, computer science.
But
definitely.
if you're not computer literate from a management perspective, how are you managing any of these esports leagues? I mean, if you could be a great sports manager.
That's right.
Not going to take that away from whoever. But if you're just a sports manager and then now these esports are emerging, you see the opportunity, like how do you jump into that without having that deep computer literacy?
Exactly. I mean, that's another thing that we learned in the camp that we saw. We were working with primarily Gen Zers, and Gen Zers are called digital natives, right? But there are basic computer literacy skills that we were teaching them in Camp Level Up. For example, how to set up a file system and navigate a file system.
So
Something
these are
as basic
older
as
people.
that.
Well, these were
were younger
kids.
These were younger kids.
So,
but to your point, you have to have those digital literacy skills in order to be able to function honestly in any capacity in this day and age, in any type of career. You have to have those digital literacy skills. And so there are opportunities even at the collegiate level to integrate and incorporate that type of skill set and that type of learning opportunity into curriculum. One of the things that we do is consult, as we're doing with Morris Brown and also with the Southern University Law Center, is that we consult them on the building and designing of their curricula so that they are focusing on integrating those types of skills and giving students those types of experiences at the collegiate level. And for us, it's really, really important because our focus at the collegiate level is on minority serving institutions. So those are historically Black colleges and universities, tribal colleges, Hispanic serving institutions, and those that serve Native Americans and Pacific Islanders as well. So we focus on the minority serving institutions as well as the predominantly Black institutions, or the PBIs. So that's our focus.
How are we as a country globally? Like, what level are we at as far as esports goes?
So I believe we're probably third and fourth.
Yeah.
Right. We toggle between third and fourth. 30 years ago, your Asian countries are already doing this. Korea had it on lock.
Yes.
And then Europe came behind Korea, and then America started. But then you have your Australia. They're doing pretty good with esports. The continent of Africa, when we talk about our international partners, they're starting to get more and more involved. But we have opportunity to probably overtake and go into second place when it comes to globally, because we have a lot of because of sports,
right?
And we have a big following when it comes to sports, or a big passion when it comes to sports. However, when you think about soccer, for instance, and how soccer is global, we're starting to realize how to now look at esports like a soccer,
right,
for instance, because we're now adopting soccer here in the States, and it's starting to pick up steam as well, because we're a global mesh of people anyway in America. And so now we're starting to look at that and say, okay, let's look at this side, these communities. They might actually have something that they're actually doing, and so we're getting behind them and pushing them. But then it's a narrative as well that has to be understood. And so my young self, had I known that there was a guy named Gerald Lawson back in the 70s who was Black, that invented the first console video game system,
with
interchangeable cartridges, was overtaken by Atari later, maybe I would have decided to stick with video games, because I wanted to do something, because I was playing Sega and Nintendo, and I was like, this would be cool, but I didn't know about it.
Right.
And so I didn't understand how to do that. But now, because of our information at our fingertips, we can now start to talk about that, and now we can awaken that same type of passion to produce that we had back in the 60s and 70s with the space program and things of that nature. But we as a community, we were written out of those narratives. I mean, you go back to Hidden Figures, and you talk about, what they did and the things they were coming up with, the mathematics they were using. People will tell you the computer science. People will tell you often, or what we would think now is, we had nothing to do with any of that technology. We had nothing to do with the space race. We had nothing to do with computing.
They're gonna make you think that.
They are, and so it's not true. And now that we are trying to come together as a country, I think we have an opportunity that if we do, it'll allow us to get back. Because when we were doing that with the space race, America was considered around the world as a leader in technology. And so if we can take that same approach, however, bring everybody to the table, then we'll be able to eventually be number one.
Exactly.
When it comes to esports, because esports, we are very entertainment driven.
Yes.
And esports squarely fits inside of digital entertainment. And so there's a lot of things that can be invented. There's a lot of technologies that have not come out yet that can come out if we push ourselves in these areas of esports. And then we're able to, again, become a juggernaut when it comes to that type of technology and being a world leader.
Yeah. Do you think that if there was a face to Black esports, like a celebrity that kind of pushed it, you think that will help it out some? Or is there a celebrity in particular that
T-Pain?
Yeah,
T-Pain has gotten behind it.
Yeah.
Even Soulja Boy is somebody recently.
Didn't he have a game?
Yeah,
he had a console that
he
came up with. Yeah. And so if we can marry the history of where we were in gaming with the present and the future of it, we can push it forward. I was a math teacher and a science teacher, and I used to ask my students that all the time. What would make math more interesting to you? They were like, and I would ask the question, so if somebody so-and-so, insert entertainer here, would talk about more about mathematics, would you be more interested in math? Of course they would. So if we can kind of galvanize that and bring them to the forefront. I mean, Offset has been involved in esports recently. A lot of athletes.
They game.
They're
serious.
They are serious gamers, and they're starting to now, inside of their foundations and beyond, to put money into esports for communities as well. So if we can just really galvanize that for our young people and put it in their faces so they can see it happening.
Yes.
That's part of the problem. I used to make fun of my children all the time. You know, they were always watching YouTube and unpacking of toys and all of these different kids. And I'm like, stop watching it, stop watching it. It's like, why don't you make your own? And so they brought us to task. So we had to help them make their own YouTube channel, Black History Hunters, shameless plug.
Oh,
for
okay,
them.
that's cute.
And so, you know, to get them behind it because they were passionate. They love being on YouTube. They come out the womb flipping phones and already understanding how to do
These
that.
kids are different.
They are.
Exactly.
And I think I don't know what happened. I guess because we didn't grow up with it, we kind of grew into technology,
That's
and
right.
they were born into technology.
Yes.
That their minds they work different.
They're wired differently.
They're wired differently.
Yeah.
So you teach them differently.
That's right.
And you can't teach kids the way we were taught.
Yes.
I wish you could.
It would be
can't,
a lot
though.
easier.
It
wouldn't
would be. It would be.
But honestly, for the times that we're living in, it requires a different approach. You know,
They're
to
on
learning.
a different frequency, literally.
They
I mean,
are.
even from the music
Yes.
to just there is a different frequency
It
that
is.
these kids operate on that, you know, you have to really
And it's okay. I mean,
it's good.
That's the
I mean,
way.
that's good.
That's the way that we evolve. That's the way that we innovate. I feel real good about the future of our world in the hands of Gen Z. Because they are, with the things that they're living through right now, this pandemic, this pandemic and the way that the world has had to shift as a result of it means that they're going to be the most agile generation that you ever saw. They're going to be the generation that can deal with whatever and make it happen, because they have had to deal with whatever and make it happen in this pandemic.
I think that was, you know, generationally speaking, and because you guys have a different approach and different levels for each group, age group.
Right.
I think that's kind of where millennials, they're different from Gen Z.
That's right.
Because they were born in like 9/11, after
Yes.
9/11. So it's kind of like they kind of just floated through all that happened. But then, like you said, Gen Z, man, those kids are techies.
They are.
They're asking questions.
Yes.
But then I also think about it this way. You don't have to get rid of the things we had to learn, right? The way that we had to learn. What we figured out is, if you take that and marry it to their passion, because they are very passionate. They ask questions like, I'm like, where did you even get that question from? Have you been on this earth before? You know, I'm thinking like that.
they come out understanding how to operate things. I mean, it's
weird.
It's automatic. They know that means stop. That means fast forward.
That's right.
That means go to the next. You know, even older people, you give them a phone, they're going to be totally lost.
Exactly.
It's just instinctual now that they just, that's what that means. That's what that means.
It is. And so that's why I think the approach that we've taken with having a self-directed learning platform that is web-based is something that's intuitive for them. The way that the information is learned is very intuitive for them. The activities they engage in are very active.
The music.
Very kinesthetic. Exactly. All of that comes into play in terms of helping to train and prepare them for these careers.
Because
And
they
I think
already
that's why
know they
it's
can do
effective.
this. Because they're already doing it. Most of the kids in my classroom, when I talked about streaming, like if I'm talking to a colleague, they had no idea. But when I talked to a student, they like, oh yeah, Ms. Thomas, you want to see my YouTube channel? They were already doing it. They were already taking their NBA 2K clips, putting them up on the website. And I was like, okay, so you know. So they know already. So that's not the thing that we have to work on. We used to have to work on getting to know and understand about robotics and technology and all that stuff. They already
come with that basic.
They already come with it. So now all we have to do is show them what to do with it and how to grow it and how for them to create their own lane. And they can start on it right now. We know kids that are 13, 14, 15-year-olds that are already making six figures in our community on YouTube.
Yeah.
And within
eSports.
eSports,
Yeah.
Going from streaming, they played tournaments, they won tournaments,
People
but they went into
really
that.
sit there and watch people play games.
Absolutely.
They do.
In fact, the
They really
viewership
do.
of people who watch esports exceeds that of the World Series, NBA Finals, and
Are
Super
you
Bowl
serious?
combined.
Wow.
Yes,
I
it's a
didn't know
larger
that.
viewership.
And nowadays, because COVID has made us all digital
More,
native,
yeah.
it has
Even
grown.
more.
It has grown.
Yeah.
And so now the world is kind of going to where they were already living.
Yeah.
They were already living in this area. And so now it's like, okay, you have an opportunity, young person, insert your young person here, whatever age they're at, you can start to create your own persona and not a fake persona,
Right.
a real persona.
Right.
And you can be a real thought leader. We have a young lady, Asia,
Yeah.
and she has learned everything it is to learn about being in digital marketing, social media marketing, and we use her. We also have this philosophy of each one teach one. So she was a part of our what's the name of your program?
Supporting computational algorithmic thinking,
SCAT program. So,
Oh, wow.
And we had her since she was in 6th grade. She's now a sophomore in college.
Yeah, she's at Fort Valley.
And so she's at Fort Valley, and so she now teaches our young kids. So if we want to do digital marketing, for instance, that's a part of the Pro Player Clinic. As they're learning how to be a professional player in esports, you have to know how to have the right persona, how to market yourself,
How to build a brand.
And so she comes in now and shows them, okay, this is what you need to do on YouTube. This is how you can be certified. This is how you grow your followers.
This is how you do the research in order to understand exactly
The analytics.
How to read the analytics, how to track the analytics. She's 18 years old. Shout out to that girl, Asia.
That girl, Asia, she is awesome, but also a female, a
Yes.
black woman.
Yes.
We want to make sure that diversity and inclusion is at the top of our meter as well. We want, because again, Asian, white, male is what it looks like in esports. However, we know that is not true. And so we want to shine a light on those individuals who are being a part of it. Even when it comes to businesses, there were several esports arenas and esports stores and people who were in video
I
games
remember that.
around Atlanta.
Yeah.
That were black owned, but
Yeah.
not a lot of people knew they were black owned, or not a lot of people knew they existed. So as a part of before, and this was before COVID, of course, during our season, we would make sure that we would rotate from their store to another store, so people could learn and understand that there were people who
That have these. So what happened? Are they gone?
Some of them still are here, and some of them have taken a break. We rotated around from Versus Realm to Gamer Experience to 404 Esports, and we just kind of kept circulating around as we ran our season face to face at the top of the year. In fact, we were able to finish season 1 of the Youth Esports League right before the shelter in place happened.
Oh,
so we were
wow.
fortunate for that. And this season we're going to be 100% virtual, but Gamer Experience and 404 Esports are still here. Gamer Experience is down on the east side in Lithonia, Stonecrest area, and 404 Esports is up in Gwinnett. And then Versus Realm is going to be moving locations, but they're based out of DeKalb County.
So do you think that there's room for, because I saw how everyone was just like going PS5 crazy. Do you guys think there's room for more consoles? I mean, there's like, why is everyone going after these two? It's like Xbox.
it's
or
interesting.
PlayStation.
You know, that whole so when you talk about esports and platforms in which it takes place,
Yeah.
there are kind of two schools of thought. You have your personal computer or the PCs or the PC raising, as people would say, and then you have your consoles, and so that's your PS4s and your Nintendos and your Switches. So I believe they can coexist. However, they should coexist because that's how you actually have innovation, by bringing everybody to the table. But what has traditionally happened as far as esports is concerned, they've pushed PC forward, which is the more expensive route of participation, which now brings up the barrier of entry higher that precludes
Because don't
a
you
lot
have
of
to
people.
have the internet, you have to have a
Yeah,
certain speed,
exactly.
and you have to have a certain...
Exactly.
Instead of like back in the day, you go to the store, you buy the game,
Plug
and
and
you
play.
play, and now, you know, the
Exactly.
internet, maybe you can play with somebody else, but not that. You
Right,
have to have
right.
the right internet speed, you have to have the right... And that's
Equipment. It's
expensive.
expensive.
It is
And the
very.
electricity and the
Correct.
equipment that you use
Correct.
uses a lot.
It
One
creates
of
a
my
barrier to
friends, her
entry.
daughter is like deep into it, and she tells me about how high her light bill is. And she tells me about how like she doesn't go to bed. And that's another thing I wanted to ask y'all. How do
No.
you detach? Because I see a lot of people that are deep into gaming, and it's like they have weird sleeping habits,
Oh, my.
and they
My
get
7-year-old.
addicted. How do you?
So one of the things that we focus on inside of our programming, and we definitely stress this and teach young people how to develop healthy habits as gamers and as esports professionals. We teach them about mindfulness and meditation. They engage in mindfulness and meditation every single day so that they can not only take a break from gaming, but they can also center themselves. We teach them how to visualize and focus ahead of tournament play. We teach them about good sleeping habits, how to develop a sleep protocol, nutrition. We have a dietitian on our team, a certified dietitian on our team that helps them to plan their meals and helps them to work with their parents to shop for food that's going to be healthy. So we really focus on mind, body,
you gotta
spirit.
detach.
It has to be all of that.
Yeah.
There's a we also teach them about how to use their practice time to the optimal levels. There actually is a certain amount of time after which you don't see gains and improvement in your play if you're playing after a certain number of hours.
Well, that's good to know, because
so we train them and teach them about all of that.
when we were growing up, another thing that they tried to tell us was, you guys keep playing those games, you're going to be shooting everybody, and that was one of the things they said back in the 90s.
Sure, yeah.
When, they wanted to blame everything that happened on video games and the music.
And rap.
Exactly.
Right.
Listen to hip hop, you're going to go out and do what they say, yeah.
Good, you guys are witnessing some what are we? We're Gen
We're
X.
Gen X.
We're Gen X. You're witnessing Gen X people that have benefited from being completely into rap, which is me, and completely into games, which is them, and we're okay.
Exactly.
We
We're
just
all
have
okay.
to be able to detach and practice mindfulness and, just unplug from some stuff sometime. Go outside, get some air.
Exactly.
It'll keep you healthy. So thank you guys. I don't even know what else to say. How do people get involved in what you guys have going on, and what do you see next?
Okay.
So in terms of what's coming next, we are really, really excited about the upcoming Youth Esports League season. It kicks off in January, season 2.
What team should we be looking for? Because now I'm like getting deep into this.
We have a number of different teams from youth groups, as well as from high schools. We have Rockdale Magnet, the Life School, Steam Sport,
Cedar Grove
High School. We don't know what is. I mean, the field honestly is wide open.
South Atlanta High School.
Yeah, you just gonna have to tune in.
And we have a
see.
team and an individual side,
Yes, we
because
do.
again, we want to meet we want to meet the youth where they are. So
Right.
if you're in schools, that's fine, that's great. But if you're a part of your youth ministry, if you're a part of a mentorship program, there's an individual side for you as well.
Yeah.
And the team is high school and collegiate side. So
Correct.
we do the team, and it's a medley style. So think about track and field, or think about gymnastics.
Yeah.
So if somebody's great at, let's say, Smash Brothers or Street Fighter, they can't come in and win because they're great at that. Your team has to be well-rounded, so you have to play Rocket League, Hearthstone, Smash Brothers, Fortnite. So you have to play all those games very well, and your team members have to form a team. They have to practice. They have to do all those different things, and so we'll make sure that we have a leaderboard, and people will know. We're going to make sure we advertise. That's what this funding is helping us to do.
Right.
Is now we can spread the word.
Yeah.
About what we're doing, so everybody can look at it. We'll have recaps, we'll have videos, we'll have play-by-play, we'll have broadcast, rebroadcast.
Exactly. So for all of that, you can check
And
out our
they're good.
website for that.
Yeah.
You can check out our website, or you can find us on social media. Our Twitch channel is Pharaohs Conclave TV. On IG, we're Pharaohs Conclave. So we have the second season, as I mentioned, of the Youth Esports League coming up. We're going to be kicking off Camp Level Up this summer in June. So for those of you who have young people who you already know have an interest in gaming, and you're looking for what are we going to do this summer? Because 9 times out of 10, summer's going to have to be virtual too, with the way folks are acting.
Yeah.
So check us out. Information about that will be up towards the end of this month. And then in September, we're going to be hosting our inaugural Minority Serving Institutions Invitational. We're hoping that we'll be able to do that event face-to-face at the GICC out in East Point, College Park.
Shouts out to Councilman Joshua Butler.
Yeah.
He's working with us heavily on that. And then
Exactly.
we're also talking about bringing the Tri-Cities to that as well, which would be East Point, College Park, and Hapeville.
Correct.
Nice.
And so they're getting behind us on that. And so
Yeah.
when we talk about, bringing the municipalities in on it, because we also see this going, for diversionary programs,
Yep.
for juvenile justice, being able to give them again those
Wouldn't
options.
that be nice?
Yes.
That would be so nice.
Absolutely.
So
But-
we need to get the government involved and make that one of the
Exactly.
points that we need
Yes.
them to get on board with. Funding
Absolutely.
for, so specifically, what area would you guys be in? Whose district are you guys in?
We are actually in Hank Johnson's district down
Okay.
in Stonecrest. However, as he mentioned, because our focus and our heart is really for kids who are at the margins, any city official, government official who works with young people, with diversionary programs, foster care, all of those different types of programs, we can train those young people and ensure that they get into and through our apprenticeship program and have a
Wow.
pathway to college and even professional school.
Oh, and our website,
Yes, I'm looking at
PCXnow.com.
PCXnow.com.
Yes.
And how can people follow you on social media? Pharaohs Enclave?
Pharaohs Conclave on.
Why did I say Enclave?
I know a lot of people think Enclave, but
It's like the car,
Pharaohs Conclave.
Pharaohs Conclave
which
on
is another story.
on Twitter. On Twitter, we're Pharaohs Clave, but on all other social media platforms, we're Pharaohs Conclave.
Okay. Anything else you guys wanted to talk about before we get out of here?
I do want to shout out our children, Pharaoh, Vivian, and Eric. Our company's actually named after our eldest son,
Yeah.
Pharaoh, and he's really excited. He's a super innovative kid. He and his brother and sister are content creators as well with the Black History Hunters. He designs 3D Beyblades, comic books,
Wow.
the whole nine. So big shout out to the Thomas babies. We love y'all.
Shout out
Oh,
to the
yeah.
Thomas babies and everybody else that wants to get on board. And let's learn more about esports and how we
Definitely.
can become more involved. And talk to your children about esports as an option, especially if you see that they are very passionate about their games. And, kind of explain to them that there's more that goes into making that game and spark their interest, parents. Let's get this going. So thank you
That's
guys for
right.
coming.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much for
having
having
us.
Can't wait. If anything else, if you have any more announcements, reach back out to us. We
will.
are here. We want to hear all
Definitely.
about what's going on and wish you guys the best.
Thank
we
you.
will keep
Definitely.
we'll keep up with you. We're following you now, so
Yay.
we're gonna invite you back. So thank you guys for
Awesome.
watching. Make sure you
Awesome.
follow and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Innovative Black Station, and make sure you follow us on Instagram at CTD_ATL. Thanks, guys. Peace.